Dear friend who lives next to my world, I am typing this letter for you tonight. I hope it reaches you with the soft click of keys and the steady light of your screen. I will keep this simple and clear because that is how we speak here. In my world, a sentence fails if it tries to carry a lie. The sound breaks or the ink refuses to hold and the claim does not pass. We learn this as children the first time we reach for a sweet excuse and our voices fall silent. Imagine a word that will not leave your mouth if it twists the truth. That is the rule that shapes our days and our nights. I want to tell you what it is like to live inside that rule. I also want to tell you what I have learned from thinking about your world. You may find parts of this harsh and parts of it kind. Both feelings can be true at once. Let me begin with a small scene in a hospital where a child trembles after a scan. A doctor bends close and wants to say you will be fine. The words stick because the outcome is still a question. The doctor breathes and tries again and says you are safe right now and we will care for you with all we have. The sentence lands and the child nods and the truth is enough for that minute. Many of our comfort lines sound like that. They are careful and honest and still warm. We become skilled at naming what we know and what we do not know. Our speech has many ways to mark doubt and hope. We say it seems likely, or it may help, or I believe this is the best step. These phrases are not tricks. They match the speaker's mind, and so they pass the gate. The gate is what we call the quiet law in our throats and in our hands. The gate does not punish. It only prevents. Because of that prevention, we build habits of precision that spill into everything else. School begins with lessons that teach the map between words and belief. Children practice with colored cards that say certain, or unsure, or story. They hold up the card that matches what they feel while they speak. If a child says the cat is blue and believes it is blue, the line fails, and we talk about eyes and light and how belief alone cannot carry a claim about the world. Then we test the cat with paint chips and laughter. The laughter is gentle because mistakes here are not shameful. They are experiments. We still play pretend and we still tell jokes and we still dream. We simply mark the mode before we begin. When we want to spin a tale, we say this is a story and open the door for imagination. When we want to test an idea, we say this is my guess and mark it with a number for how sure we feel. The number can be rough and human. It only needs to be sincere. Our teachers love that moment when a class learns the power of uncertainty. The room grows lighter when a child realizes they can be brave and unsure at the same time. Workplaces borrow that language as well. In a meeting, a manager says, I estimate that this plan has a fair chance, and here is why, and here is what would change my mind. The team listens for the handles in the sentence. A handle is a clear link to a fact or a test. With enough handles, a debate becomes a shared climb instead of a tug of war. Courtrooms run like water in this system. There is no oath against lying, because lying cannot pass the gate. Judges still ask hard questions. They press on memory and bias and context. Truth here is not only about facts, but also about fit. A witness must say what they saw and also mark where their view was blocked and where a sound could have confused them. The record reads like a careful map with shaded regions for doubt. It changes the tone of justice. We do not spend our time hunting for deception. We spend our time tracing gaps in knowledge. Negotiation still exists, but it follows new paths. Traditional espionage died long ago because cover stories cannot stand. States move toward transparent channels with rules for withholding. Withholding is allowed, but only as silence or redaction that is named as such. A diplomat says I cannot share that, and the sentence holds and the room moves on. Some call this cold. I call it clean. Clean does not mean easy. Families know this best. We do not have the gentle white lie that says you look great when the collar is stained or the day has been cruel. We improvise other kindness. A lover says, I want to help you feel confident and this shirt did better yesterday and I can iron it while you breathe. That is a long sentence for a morning rush, but we become fast with practice. Honesty does not remove tenderness. It teaches it. Confidence in romance changes shape under this light. A compliment must have a spine. I say I love the way your laugh rises after a pause because it makes a small drum in my chest and it feels like home. That line is true and therefore allowed. Trust then grows not from blind comfort but from repeatable care. The heat of pride can still burn us though. A clean truth can land like a stone if it ignores timing and tone. We train for timing the way musicians train for tempo. At home, we practice with cards that say now, or later, or never. Now means the truth is needed to prevent harm. Later means the truth can wait for a better moment. Never is rare and means the truth belongs to a boundary that must be kept. Boundaries thrive in our world because they rely on clear naming. I have a boundary is a sentence that moves mountains here. Therapy rooms are calm places because I am fine does not pass when it is not true. People still hide, but they hide with silence instead of false words. That difference shapes care. A therapist may say your shoulders say more than your sentence, and would you like to try again with a softer pace? The reply might be, I feel fear, and I am not ready to share the cause today. That is allowed, and it guides the next step. Medicine has its own puzzles under our rule. Placebo effects do not vanish, but they have to be honest about expectation. A doctor says this pill has no active drug and some people still feel better while taking it, and your mind might help your body in that way. Many patients try it with open eyes and outcomes vary yet often help. Research moves faster because fabrication cannot cross the gate. The cost is that bold claims arrive later. We need stronger proof before a big claim can be voiced. Some fear that this slows daring ideas. I think it trims waste more than it trims wonder. Art adapts in interesting ways. Fiction is alive and rich because we announce the play mode. A writer starts a reading with "This is a story," and the language opens like a field after rain. Comedy shifts toward misdirection of attention rather than false facts. A comic tells a setup that is technically true but points the mind down the wrong path, and then hands you a new light at the punch. Magicians became engineers of perception who explain the challenge frame before the trick. You will experience a gap between sight and cause, and we call that wonder. The trick delights even more because we respect the contract. Business changed the day the last vague slogan failed to print. Ads now live by measurable claims. A cereal says 10 grams of protein, and here is where it comes from, and here is the farmer you can visit on video. Trust looks boring at first glance, and then it turns out to be addictive. We still have greed. We still have pressure. What we do not have is the thin ice of spin. Employers hire with clarity. Interviews feel like joint planning sessions because puffing does not pass and neither does doom. A candidate says, I did not lead that project, but I pushed 2 decisions that doubled its speed, and here is proof. The manager says we cannot pay what you asked, but we can pay this, and we can train you in this tool, and we will check again in 3 months. People still leave jobs when promises fail, but at least promises have edges we can see. Markets built new instruments to support this. We carry truth claim insurance for public statements. If a claim fails a test, the policy pays a fine and the rating on the issuer drops. A few old brands vanished in a week when the gate killed their slogans and they had nothing real left to say. New brands rose with quiet labels that named origin and method and cost. It is strange to call honesty a style, but that is what it became for a time. Then it faded into the background the way clean air becomes silent. Friendships breathe in a similar way. You can rely on my words is no longer a virtue we declare. It is the default. The harder promise is I will speak the truth with care for your heart. That takes skill. We teach it late at night when people are tired and old stories have softened their edges. A mentor sits with a young worker and says, I want to tell you something sharp, and I also want you to sleep well. They plan the order of sentences so the hard part lands on a cushion of respect. You might ask whether gossip exists here. It does in the form of theory more than story. People say, I think this is happening because I saw these signs, and I may be wrong. The rumor moves as a network of probabilities that anyone can question. It is imperfect yet less cruel. Religion and ritual evolve with this law as well. Leaders speak with more silence and more invitation. They describe experience rather than decree conclusion. Faith becomes less about claims of fact and more about practices that shape a life. I see people who find that difficult and people who find it freeing. Both responses have dignity. Parenting is a daily workshop in our truthcraft. When a child asks if monsters are real, we say ideas can feel like monsters during the night, and I will sit with you until the room turns kind again. The ritual is slower than a soft lie, but it works and it lasts. Teens test the system by trying to make clever claims that are not quite lies and not quite fair. The gate is not fooled for long. It checks intent as well as content by asking whether the speaker would accept the same sentence used on them in a mirrored case. If the answer is no, the line fails. This mirror rule shapes our ethics almost more than the gate itself. It keeps our debates honest and our jokes humane. You might wonder how this all began. I do not know for sure. Our oldest records already assume the gate. Some scholars think it grew slowly, from a small trait into a universal one. Others think it arrived in one bright shock that rewrote the rules. I can only tell you what it feels like to live with it now. It feels like walking on ground that does not hide holes. It also feels like standing under a light that shows every wrinkle on your face. Both feelings keep us awake. I have spent years studying your world through the messages that slip between us. You have a talent I envy. You know how to wrap comfort around a hard day by shaping a gentle story. Your kindness uses soft light, and that can be healing. You also carry storms of false noise that roll across your networks in minutes. Those storms break trust and leave people tired in their bones. I think you could borrow from us, and we could borrow from you. You could try a simple label at the start of a claim where you say story or guess or measure. We could study how to keep tenderness even when the label reads blunt truth. I would like to visit your kitchens and learn how you comfort a friend with soup and a small, hopeful line that is honest and sweet. I would teach you the rhythm we use when we have to deliver a hard fact at dawn. First we anchor in care, then we say the line, then we hold a silence long enough for breathing. That silence matters more than any extra words. Our music reflects this rhythm. Many songs begin with a spoken tag that says this is a story, and then the melody is free to wander and heal. Listeners relax because the contract is clear. When the song ends, the singer thanks the room for lending their belief for a little while. We do not treat belief as a small thing. We treat it as a shared tool that can lift or harm. In science labs, We write our doubt on the same line as our result. It saves time later and keeps pride from building walls. A young researcher earns praise not only for a discovery, but also for a clean confession of limits. Limits are part of the story rather than a grim footnote. People sometimes ask whether our world is happier. I think happiness grows here, like moss on a clear stone. It is quiet and steady, and it does not need applause. We miss some of the sparkle that a bold promise can bring, though. That is a real loss, and we say so. Still, I sleep well, knowing that the words I spoke today will not return to chase me. Peace is a kind of wealth. I will tell you one more scene before I close this letter. A couple stands on a bridge during a cold evening, and they have to decide whether to stay together. One says, "I love you, and I cannot ignore that our days feel narrow, and I need more sky." The other answers, "I love you, and I am ready to build more sky with you, and I also accept that you might need to walk alone." They do not wrap the moment in false safety. They trade real promises instead. Whatever they choose after that has a flaw under it. I carry that scene with me when my own life tightens. It reminds me that clear words can be braver than bright ones. You may wonder how we handle harm that truth can cause. We designed a practice called kindness protocols. The protocol asks 3 checks before a hard line is spoken. First, ask if the line prevents harm. Second, ask if the timing is humane. Third, ask if the listener has asked for this truth. If any check fails, we find another path. Either we adjust the line, or we wait, or we ask permission. Consent became a pillar of speech. You might like that part because it rewards respect and patience. Some people claim this makes us slow. It is true that we are slower at times. I prefer slow to sorry. Humor survives under these rules, but it wears new shoes. The best comics here test their own claims, live on stage with small truth games. A favorite bit involves an audience poll that the comic guesses with a stated confidence and then reveals. The laugh comes from the gap and from the courage to be measured while making joy. We try not to make laughter cruel. That aim is older than the gate and will outlast it. I think of you when I walk past our river at night. The water reflects an honest sky and still it ripples. Honesty does not remove movement. It shapes it. If I could send you one gift, I would send you our small words for doubt. If you could send me one gift, I would ask for your art that holds a person when the day breaks their back. We would both be richer after that trade. I am close to the end now, and I want to leave you with a question. If your voice had to carry only what you believe and know, what would you choose to say tomorrow? Would your day change if silence were better than a soft, false promise? Would your love change if compliments needed proof? Would your work change if every claim had to wear a handle that others could test? Think on this and write me back when your thoughts settle. I will be here at my desk with the river humming and the clock steady and the truth gate ready to let your words through. Thank you for reading me with care across the thin space between our worlds. I send you steady breath and clear sleep. I will keep a chair open for the day we meet in the middle. Until then, I remain your friend across the border of rules and light. From your friend who lives next to your world. Thank you for listening to the letter to the very end. If you enjoyed it, please tap like and subscribe and add a comment with your thoughts or questions. If you wish to support the channel, please use the QR code at the bottom right or the link in the video description. You will also find links in the description to other works from a very different series. Take care and please join me for the next episode soon.